Hear ye, hear ye. The Court of Cinema is now in session. The Honorable Alan Smithy presiding.
Yes, good evening. You can all be seated. We have a couple of doozies of cases before us tonight, so I suggest we just get into it. Can we see the first defendant? I see you are accused of owning every Pauly Shore movie on high-definition Blu-ray.
They're not mine, Your Honor. This is a misunderstanding. I've only seen Encino Man.
You were found with jury duty on high-definition Blu-ray. Biodome on high-definition Blu-ray. Son-in-law, high-definition Blu-ray.
Now wait, that can't be true because Son-in-Law didn't come out on high-definition Blu-ray.
Well, we've caught you here now, haven't we? Bailiff, get this despicable cinephile out of my sight.
Click.
Oh, here's a classic case. I see here you're accused of going to 2 movies when you've only paid for one. You hopped the theater, huh?
So I went to see The Brutalist, but it was a very different film than I thought it was. So I went next door and watched Snow White instead.
I understand your plight, and I do sympathize, but I am beholden to the law of cinema. Theaters need every dollar they can get. Now, if you're going to steal movies in the future, do it at home, why don't you? You have the internet, right? Silly. Next! Sir, it seems your camera isn't working, but I'll assume you are there. This says here you are a so-called ambassador to Hollywood? I don't know what that means, but frankly, I doubt we need more of them if we do have them already. You can go ahead.
But I am the law.
Sure. We're moving into sentencing now. Before we bring him out, do we have all the necessary security arrangements in place? I don't want this guy having a lot of breathing room. Wanted in 15 theaters in the state, the condemned joining us. Found guilty by the 3rd District Court of Cinema on the following crimes. Creating a custom Blu-ray cover for Waterworld, cosplaying Battlefield Earth, owning the canned cut of the Southland Tales, merging the souls of countless men, women, and children with electromagnetic tape, owning every Pauly Shore movie on Laserdisc, not knowing how to pronounce the names of countless actors, actresses, and directors, and above all else, hosting a movie podcast. Is there anything you have to say for yourself?
It's really more of a game show.
We condemn him to be hung by the neck until dead. May the Lord have mercy on his soul. And live from the internet, it's Filmwar!
It's Filmwar Night Live! Starring Jordan, Kyle, Dalton, George, Matt, and me, Kris. Featuring music by Dalton Garrett Coleman. And now, your host,
Welcome to Filmwar. Let's cut the shit. This is, as you know, a movie trivia game show podcast, whatever. So every second not spent playing movie games is a second wasted. It's great to be here again. It's my 45th time hosting the show, if you can believe it or not. Thank you, Lauren. Now, I know what you're all asking. Why is a movie trivia podcast doing an episode solely focused on a television show? Well, you see, SNL has been a pipeline for Sid for years. And, oh, we have a question?
Yeah, hi. Why is a movie trivia game show podcast, blah, 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 doing a themed episode based solely around a television show?
Oh, well, I was just going to address that, actually. You see, SNL has had its fingers in cinema for decades, and we have another question. You, sir.
Hello. Yeah, I was actually just wondering when we started doing the show live.
Oh, well, we are not live per se, but we require minimal editing on the show. We're really live to tape. Life to tape? Anyone? Anyone? Another question?
Hi, thanks. What happened to Brent?
Next question. You.
Hey, so what tape are we playing for tonight?
Great question. Tonight, the contestants will be playing for Superstar on VHS, one of the 11 feature films that are considered SNL feature films. We got time for one last question. We got you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes. What is it?
Can you shut the fuck up and play some movie games?
We have a great show. Jordan, Kyle, Kris, Dalton, George, and Matt are here, so stick around. And remember, don't say Goonies.
This game is called Feature Feud.
This is Feature Feud. There are 11 feature films that are considered SNL feature films. Here they are now. I'm going to ask you a series of questions about these 11 films, and you will receive 1 point for each question you answer correctly. Those 11 films are The Blues Brothers from 1980, Wayne's World from 1992, Coneheads from 1993, Wayne's World from 1993, It's Pat from 1994, Stuart Saves His Family from 1995, Blues Brothers 2000 from 1998, Night at the Roxbury from 1998, Superstar from 1999, The Ladies' Man from 2000, and MacGruber from 2010. The very first question I'm going to ask you is, which one of these films had the lowest budget of all 11? Dalton, which one of these films do you think had the lowest budget?
I would hope it was It's Pat, but I could be wrong.
All right,
I'm going to go with It's Pat, the movie, though.
Dalton's saying It's Pat was the lowest budget. George, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to follow my heart or whatever we say here. I'm going to go with It's Pat also.
George agreeing with Dalton saying It's Pat. Jordan, what do you think?
So I get, you would want it to be It's Pat, right? And not that I've seen it, but coming after Wayne's World, Coneheads, Wayne World 2, maybe they thought they could spend some money on these things.
For sure, yeah. They got a little full of themselves, yeah.
I'm going to guess Superstar.
Jordan's going to say Superstar had the lowest budget. Kris, what do you think?
I'm going to go with It's Pat.
Kris agreeing with Dalton. George saying It's Pat. Kyle, what do you say?
I used to love this movie. It's Pat.
Kyle agreeing with It's Pat, saying it has the lowest budget. And Matt, you won the game last time. What do you think this time?
I was going to go with It's Pat like everybody else, but, I like to be different. So I'm actually going to go Coneheads. I think it could be not that expensive to make, potentially.
Okay, Matt saying Coneheads. Kyle, Kris, George, and Dalton are all saying It's Pat. And Jordan is saying Superstar. And the answer is It's Pat had the lowest budget. $8 million to make that film. $27 million to make Blues Brothers. $20 million to make Wayne's World. $30 million to make Coneheads. $40 million to make Wayne's World 2. $12 million to make Stuart Saves His Family. $28 million to make Blues Brothers 2000. $17 million to make Night at the Roxbury. $14 million to make Superstar. $11 million to make Ladies' Man, and $10 million to make MacGruber. I'm not going to go through every one of these every time. So Dalton, George, Kris, and Kyle all get a point for that one, for choosing It's Pat. All right, our next question is the highest worldwide box office gross. Which one of these 11 films made the most money at the box office? Matt, we're going to start with you. Which film is that?
Oh, man, that's tough.
Some good money earners out there.
I'm going to go with Blues Brothers 2000.
Matt is saying Blues Brothers 2000 brought in the most money. George, what do you think?
Well, I kind of want to go with Matt's answer, but I'll be different. I'll go with Wayne's World 2.
George is saying Wayne's World 2 had the highest box office total. All right, Jordan, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Wayne's World 1.
Jordan saying Wayne's World 1 had the highest
I'm not sure
box office income. Dalton, what do you think?
I'm going to go with that also, just because there's a Wayne's World 2 on here.
Obviously made some money.
I realize there's another Blues Brothers movie, but there's some time between those. So I'm gonna go with Wayne's World. I think that probably generated enough to get its sequel lit.
Yeah, surely made some money. Dalton agreeing with Jordan, saying Wayne's World. Wayne's World. Chris, what do you say?
I'm going with Dalton and Jordan. I'm also going to say Wayne's World.
Chris agreeing. Wayne's World. Kyle, what do you think?
I'm gonna go for out of left field here. I'm gonna go with Coneheads.
Kyle's saying Coneheads. All right, so Kyle's saying Coneheads. Matt is saying Blues Brothers 2000. Jordan, Chris, Dalton are saying Wayne's World. Okay, and the answer is Wayne's World. $183 million that movie brought in. Blues Brothers.
Wayne's World.
Blues Brothers brought in $57 million.
Party time.
The next closest was
Excellent.
Wayne's World 2, which brought in $48 million. It's Pat only brought in $61,000 in the entire world.
Here's why you know it's not Wayne's World 2. There would have been a Wayne's World 3.
Right. I think that they still. I think they wanted a Wayne's World 3, but I think Meyer said.
I mean,
no.
yeah.
There's still time.
Yeah, there is still time.
Yeah, there's still.
I mean, yeah, this second one did. That's bad.
Okay.
I was gonna go with Wayne's World no matter what, but Dalton, your thinking was sound.
Okay. This next question is a two-parter. I'm going to ask you for which film had the lowest average rating according to users on Letterboxd, and the one that had the highest average rating according to users on Letterboxd. You're going to answer for both. Dalton, let's start with you. Which had the lowest? Which had the highest?
I'm gonna go with Stewart Saves His Family as the lowest, and Wayne's World as the highest.
Okay, Stewart Saves His Family is the lowest. Wayne's World is the highest. George, what do you say?
I'll just name a couple. I'll say lowest is The Ladies' Man. Highest is Night at the Roxbury.
Okay, and Jordan.
I think the lowest is probably It's Pat, and if the highest isn't the Blues Brothers, then that's crime.
Okay, Jordan saying It's Pat and the Blues Brothers. Chris, what do you say? Lowest and highest average according to users on Letterboxd.com.
I'm following along with Jordan. I was gonna same thing. It's Pat for the lowest and Blues Brothers for the highest.
All right, Chris agreeing with Jordan. Kyle, what do you think?
Blues Brothers 2000 for the lowest and Blues Brothers for the highest.
Okay, Kyle's saying the pair of Blues Brothers took the top and lowest spot. Matt, what do you say?
It's Pat lowest and Wayne's World highest.
Here are the actual results. The highest was Blues Brothers with 4 stars. The lowest was It's Pat with 1.8 stars, according to users on Letterboxd.com. There's not anything that's really surprising on here for me besides I thought Blues Brothers 2000 was a little high. At 2.4, I still think it should be a little bit lower than that, but just my opinion.
Yeah.
Didn't see it, wasn't interested. It looked bad.
I rented It's Pat a couple times. I love that movie.
Well, nobody's perfect, Kyle.
Has that movie aged poorly or well?
It aged very poorly.
Awesome.
Chris has 4 points. Jordan has 3. Dalton has 2. Kyle has 2. Matt and George both have 1.
This game is called High and Low.
This is high-low, but in alternate form. I will name 2 films that feature an abundance of acting talent who hail from the halls of SNL. You will guess which film of the 2 features more SNL cast members. Our first battle, Coneheads from 1993 versus Anchorman, Legend of Ron Burgundy from 2004. Which one of these films has more SNL cast members in its cast? Matt.
I'm going to go with Coneheads.
Matt saying Coneheads. Kyle, what do you say?
I'm going to go with Coneheads as well.
Kyle agreeing with Coneheads. Chris, what do you think?
I haven't seen Anchorman, so
You've
I've got to
never
go with
seen
Coneheads.
Anchorman? Chris is saying Coneheads.
What?
That's surprising, honestly. I don't. Yeah, that's the one that's. It seems like a Universal movie. It seems like one that a lot of people have seen. Jordan, what do you think?
It is tricky because Coneheads is the one that's an actual SNL skit.
Mm-hmm.
Anchorman has a pretty large cast, though, with a lot of cameos and stuff.
Both posters feature exactly 2 SNL cast members. I don't know if that helps you or not.
Well, you know what? Also, just to be different, let's go with Anchorman.
Jordan saying Anchorman. George, what do you think? Which one of these 2 films had more SNL cast members in it?
I had the same thought process. Like, Anchorman's got a lot of, like, famous comedic people, but Coneheads is an actual skit. Whatever. I'll go Anchorman also.
George agreeing with Jordan and saying Anchorman. Dalton, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Coneheads.
Okay, Dalton agreeing with Kris, Kyle, and Matt and saying Coneheads. George and Jordan are saying Anchorman, and the correct answer is Coneheads. 16 people from the SNL cast are in that movie.
All right.
Only 7 in Anchorman. Dan Aykroyd, Jane Curtin,
Yeah.
Phil Hartman, Adam Sandler, David Spade, Michael McKean, Chris Farley, Kevin Nealon, Jan Hooks, Julie Sweeney, Garrett Morris, Tom Davis, Peter Aykroyd, Lorraine Newman, Tim Meadows, John Lovitz, all in Coneheads. Anchorman, Will Ferrell, Chris Parnell, Fred Armisen, Jerry Minor, Ben Stiller was on the cast for a minute. Okay, so Dalton, Kris, Kyle, and Matt all get a point for that. All right, our next high-low is this is Spinal Tap versus Wayne's World 2. One of these films has more SNL cast members than the other. Which one is that? Matt.
Oh man, I've never seen Spinal Tap. I'm gonna go with Wayne's World 2.
Matt saying Wayne's World 2. What do you say, Kyle?
I think Wayne's World 2 had a lot of cast members in it. I'll go with that.
Okay, agreeing with Matt, Wayne's World 2. Kris, what do you think?
I am going with my heart. I'm going to crank my answer to 11. I'm going to go Spinal Tap.
Kris saying Spinal Tap. Jordan, what do you say?
Boy, this is another tough one.
Both surely have a lot of SNL cast members.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong on the other one, but fuck it. Let's go Spinal Tap.
Jordan saying Spinal Tap, agreeing with Kris. George, what do you think?
I'll go Wayne's World 2.
George saying Wayne's World 2. Dalton, what do you think?
I think that there's a chance it's Spinal Tap, so I'm going to go Spinal Tap.
All right, Dalton saying Spinal Tap, agreeing with Jordan and Kris. George, Kyle, and Matt all saying Wayne's World 2, and that's the correct answer. 7 cast members in Wayne's World 2, only 6 in Spinal Tap. Mike Myers, Dan Carvey, Chris Farley, Robert Smigel, Harry Shearer, Tim Meadows, Jim Downey, all in Wayne's World 2. Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, Billy Crystal, Dana Carvey, and Paul Schaefer, all in Spinal Tap. All right, so George, Kyle, and Matt all got a point for that one. All right, our next high-low is the 2 grown-ups films. One of these has more than the other in terms of SNL cast members. Which one is that, Dalton?
Oh, boy. I have not seen... I've seen bits and pieces of both of these movies, but I've not seen either one.
I haven't seen a single second from either one of these. I hear they're atrocious.
They're not good. I feel like these are their vacation movies, right?
Yeah.
They're bringing in more and more cast, especially for the sequels, so they're pulling out. I'm going with the sequel. Grown Ups 2's got more. Just by nature of it's probably got more fucking people in it in general. I don't know.
Dalton's trying to bring some logic to it and saying Grown Ups 2.
Grown Ups 2 is my answer.
George, what do you think?
I'm going to go the other way because there's more names at the top of the image there. So I'm going to go with Grown Ups 1.
There's one name missing between those 2 posters. You guys figured out who it is?
I noticed that. I did
Rob
notice.
Schneider. I don't know.
Doesn't mean it's
I don't know
right.
if Rob Schneider's in there or not. All right. George is saying Grown Ups 1 had more. And Jordan, what do you say?
I had the exact same reasoning as George, actually. I was like, well, I don't see Rob Schneider on
at least
Grown-Ups
one less,
2's
right?
poster.
Okay.
Maybe his part is just much smaller, but...
They couldn't fit Schneider on that poster. The font just didn't work.
That's fair.
That's right.
I mean, if he's going to crop up anywhere these days, it's one of these, right? But
right.
I don't know. Maybe by the second one, even they were like, I don't know, Rob.
Hey,
maybe you got to sit this one out. So Grown Ups 1, in case I wasn't.
Jordan is saying the first
clear, is my
Grown Ups has more SNL cast members. Kris, what do you think?
I'm also going with the first one, but not because there were more names on the poster, but because also having never seen them, they both looked atrocious. Yeah. And maybe some of the other cast were like, nah, I don't want to be part of this.
This is what we made? Never again. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going with the first one.
Say the first one. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Rob Schneider was too busy on Fox News on the second one, so I'm going to go with Grown Ups 1.
Isn't Rob Schneider has a famous daughter, right? Isn't she a country singer or something like that?
Yeah, she's I think her name's Elle King,
yeah,
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a viral video where she was kind of talking smack to the audience, and
what?
That wins
she was
people
drunk,
over.
and then she, rehabilitated herself, and yada yada yada.
Good for her. Kyle is saying the first one. Did I get that right? Okay,
yes.
And Matt, which one are you saying?
I'm going with the first one.
Okay, everyone except for Dalton is saying the very first one had the most SNL cast members, and Dalton gets a point because it was absolutely the second one.
Whoa!
15-8. I'm not even going to name them all. Just a bunch of people,
Wow.
you know. Yeah, Grown Ups 2 had 15 SNL cast
Wow.
members. Grown Ups had 8. Dalton gets a point.
I don't see Schneider.
Yeah, Rob Schneider.
Schneider was not in the I assume we.
So had that been the question, you guys would have nailed it.
You
So
lose
maybe it
Rob
was the other
Schneider,
way
you got to replace him
Yeah,
with 9
for
more
sure.
people.
Or maybe that's why they got more people. Like, oh, Rob's not in it this time. All right, let's go.
Now you know how much money Rob Schneider was making. Enough for them to cast another 8
Right.
people after that. All right, so Dalton gets a point for that. All right, our next high-low,
Wow.
our last of high-low, Semi-Pro versus Little Nicky. One of these films has more SNL cast members than the other. Let's start with Matt again.
I'm gonna go with Little Nicky.
Matt is saying Little Nicky. Kyle, what do you say?
I haven't seen Semi-Pro. I'm going to go with Little Nicky.
Kyle's saying Little Nicky as well. Chris, what do you say?
I've seen neither of them, but I'm also going to go with Little Nicky because every time Adam Sandler turns up, he usually brings friends.
Yeah, for sure. As we've seen in this game already. All right, Jordan, what do you think?
For that reason, I am also agreeing with Little Nicky.
Jordan also saying Little Nicky. George, what do you say?
Also, Little Nicky.
George also agreeing with Little Nicky. Dalton, what do you say?
I'm gonna go semi-pro. I haven't seen it, but I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Dalton, I think you're good enough to just go fully pro.
Go pro, yeah.
Yeah. Just go for it, man. Nothing's holding you back anymore. All right, Dalton's saying semi-pro. Everyone else is saying Little Nicky, and everyone else gets a point. 9-6. 9
Right.
people from the SNL cast were in Little Nicky, including Fred Wolf, Rob Schneider, Kevin Nealon, Michael McKean. Only 6 in semi-pro. David Koechner, Tim Meadows, Jason Sudeikis, Kristen Wiig, Jerry Minor. So everybody but Dalton gets a point there. At the end of high-low, our leader is Chris with 6 points. Kyle has 5. Dalton,
What?
Jordan, and Matt all have 4, and George has 3. So Chris, bringing up the pack right now.
I will
for our
enjoy
SNL
this
games.
moment.
I'm within striking distance.
This game is called Impression Imposter.
This is Impression Imposter. I will name a beloved actor that we all know, and 4 actors who have done an impression of that beloved actor on Saturday Night Live. However, one of the 4 never did that impression on Saturday Night Live. If you can find the imposter, you will get a point. Our first impression imposter is Robert De Niro, and the 4 actors are Norm Macdonald, Sean Penn, John Turturro, and John Goodman. 3 of these men did an impression of Robert De Niro on SNL, but one of them did not. Who did not, Dalton? This is a hard game. I mean, you have to, this is just shots in the dark.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna go with maybe it's John Turturro. Yeah.
Dalton saying John Turturro never did an impression of Robert De Niro. George, what do you say?
I'll go with John Goodman.
George saying John Goodman never did an impression of Robert De Niro. Jordan, what do you say?
I'm gonna go with Turturro as well. Actually,
Jordan agreeing with Turturro. Chris, what do you say?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Goodman.
Chris saying John Goodman. Kyle, what do you think? Who never did an impression of Robert De Niro?
John Turturro seems so random that. Well, I'm going to go with Sean Penn.
Kyle's saying Sean Penn. And Matt, who do you think it is?
Yeah, this is hard because I feel like my gut was to go with Norm, but the fact that no one else is going with him makes me think I didn't grow up watching Norm on SNL.
Go with your heart.
I'm going with
heart.
Norm then. That's what my heart's been telling me.
Matt is saying Norm Macdonald never did an impression of Robert De Niro on SNL. The only person that did, and he gets a point for it. Everyone else did do an impression of Robert De Niro on SNL, as you can see there if you're watching us on the video episodes. Norm Macdonald never did. Sean Penn, John Turturro, John Goodman all did their impression of Robert De Niro. So
I
Matt's the
couldn't
one who gets the point
picture
there.
Norm doing it, but he's just an actual cast member, so it's
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like I wrote the question to trip you up.
Yeah.
That's why I
Right.
thought surely he'd done it once during Update or something, right?
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, just like a kind of tossed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as I think
Yeah.
about it, but did we ever see Norm ever do an impersonation of anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He might even come up again in this
Yeah.
game. You never
Well,
know.
Burt
so-
Reynolds.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
Reynolds,
That's right.
obviously.
Burt Reynolds.
Our next impression imposter is Liam Neeson. Here are 4 people that may or may not have done an impression of Liam Neeson on SNL. Jeff Daniels, Colin Firth, Taron Killam, and Bill Hader. Obviously, 2 of those are SNL cast members proper. The other 2 were just hosts. Who never did an impression of Liam Neeson? Matt?
I'm going with Colin Firth.
Matt's going to go with Colin Firth. Kyle, what do you say?
Is that Jeff Daniels, the first guy?
That is Jeff Daniels.
Then, yeah, that's who I'm going with.
Kyle's saying Jeff Daniels. Chris, what do you think?
Who's the one on the bottom left?
Bottom left is Taron Killam.
Okay, I'll go with him just because.
Chris is saying Taron Killam. Jordan, what do you say?
I'm going to also go with Colin Firth.
Jordan saying Colin Firth. George, what do you think?
So I kind of do this thing where I'm like looking at everybody's face, like, man, could he do that? Could he pull that roll off? Would it be funny? But I just, this is why I don't have that job.
It's a valid strategy for this game.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll go with Colin Firth as well.
George also saying Colin Firth. And Dalton, last choice to you.
I'm going to go with Taron Killam.
Taron Killam. A lot of different choices going through the ranks for this one, but no one chose the correct one, who is Bill Hader. Bill Hader has never done a Liam Neeson impression, so nobody gets a point.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
See, that's a good trick one because, like, he's the impressionist, so it's like, well, what impression did he not do? You know. Yeah.
Gotcha. Got you with my trap there, Jordan.
Never seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, our last impression imposter is Robin Williams. Here are 4 people that may or may not have done a Robin Williams impression on SNL. Martin Short, Jimmy Fallon, Will Forte, and John Hamm. One of these 4 gentlemen has never done an impression of Robin Williams on SNL. Who is that, Dalton?
I'm going to go with Will Forte.
Dalton saying Will Forte never did an impression of Robin Williams. George, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Martin Short.
George saying Martin Short never did an impression of Robin Williams. Jordan, what do you say?
I'm going to go with Jimmy Fallon.
Jordan is saying Jimmy Fallon never did an impression of Robin Williams. Chris, what do you think?
And he shouldn't.
He should. Chris, what do you think?
John Hamm was the bottom right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. John Hamm is the one that stuck with me.
All right, Chris is saying John Hamm never did it. Kyle, what do you think?
Let's go with Martin Short.
Kyle's saying Martin Short. And Matt, what do you think?
I'm going with John Hamm.
Agreeing with John Hamm. Okay, and the answer is Will Forte. Will Forte never did an impression of Robin Williams on SNL, so Dalton gets a point.
I'll say I've actually seen Jimmy Fallon, that impression he does, and it's not terrible.
It's not terrible. I mean, in a Jimmy Fallon way, it's not
Jimmy
too bad.
Fallon has things he does okay.
Jimmy Fallon just shouldn't have been on SNL, but that's a whole different discussion.
Nor should he be allowed to on this earth any longer. John Hamm doesn't. It's like a Back to the Future DVD commentary thing. That one's pretty funny, and I don't even really know what the Martin Short one's from. I think, I don't know. All right.
That was the only one I just couldn't picture going like manic enough.
I've seen Martin Short doing Robin Williams, but I'm questioning now if I actually saw it on Saturday Night Live or something else. But he was in costume and everything because he ended the thing with like, "My God, my arms are hairy." So I've actually seen that one.
At the end of Impression Imposter, Chris still in the lead with 6 points. Right on his heels are Kyle, Matt, and Dalton with 5. Jordan has 4. George has 3. We don't have many games left to go. So, yeah, Chris still in the lead. Keep it up, baby. We could have 3 first-time winners in a row.
Don't touch that dial. It's Sunday morning.
We've spoken a lot tonight about Saturday night, but what happens after? This game is called Sunday Morning. I will name a former SNL cast member who went off to do big, bright things in the film world after leaving the show. I will name 6 movies that they were in afterwards. You will each solely choose the movie you think brought in the most money at the worldwide box office. Only one contestant can choose each film. The top grossing film is worth 3 points. The second highest grossing is worth 2 points. The third highest grossing is worth 1 point. The others, nothing. So only the top 3 picks get points. I'm going to start with the person in last place to choose first, and that is George. Chris Kattan. Here are 6 films that Chris Kattan was in after SNL. Nancy Drew from 2007, Undercover Brother from 2002, House on Haunted Hill from 1999, Monkey Bone from 2001, Corky Romano from 2001, and Food Fight from 2012. You're looking for the film that brought in the most money at the worldwide box office. George, which one do you think it is?
I mean, honestly, the only one I'm even familiar with is Corky Romano. And that could be just because it was on TV all the time. I'll go with Corky Romano.
Okay, George is saying Corky Romano, so that is off the board. Nobody else can choose Corky Romano. Next at the bottom was Jordan. Which film are you choosing?
Oh, man. Are we still trying to get Kris Kattan on this show?
Kris Kattan, if you're out there, please. We would love to have you on the show. We're all big fans of your work. Especially Monkey Bone. I basically did this entire category just so I could talk about the film Monkey Bone. So,
I guess most of you guys probably weren't around for that conversation, but let's go with the Undercover Brother.
Jordan is saying Undercover Brother. Dalton.
I'm going to choose Nancy Drew.
Kyle.
I'm going to go with House on Haunted Hill.
All right, Matt, you get either Monkey Bone or Food Fight. Which one are you going to take?
Let's go Food Fight.
And here is how it's stacked up. The number one highest grossing film was House on Haunted Hill, which brought in $65 million. Second was Undercover Brother, brought in $41 million. Nancy Drew brought in $31 million, which means that Kyle's getting 3 points, Jordan's getting 2 points, and Dalton's getting 1 point. Nobody else can say points that round. All right, so George, our next SNL cast member is John Lovett. So you'll be choosing which one of these 6 films you think brought in the most money at the worldwide box office. City Slickers 2 from 1994, High School High from 1996, Happiness, a personal favorite, from 1998, Rat Race from 2001, Benchwarmers from 2006, and A League of Their Own from 1992. You get basically a second shot here. Which one of these films do you think brought in the most money?
League of Their Own.
George is saying A League of Their Own. Jordan, what do you think?
City Slickers 2.
Jordan says City Slickers 2. Matt, what do you think?
They took my first 2, so I'm going to go with Benchwarmers.
And Dalton?
Let's go with Rat Race.
And Kris?
All my other choices are taken, but you said something about Happiness. Let's go with that.
Okay, this is how it shook out. The number one film was A League of Their Own with $132 million. George gets 3 points for that one. Second was Rat Race, $85 million. Dalton's getting those points. And third was Benchwarmers, $65 million. Next Sunday morning is Phil Hartman. Here are 6 films Phil Hartman was in after he left SNL. Sergeant Bilko from 1996. Jingle All the Way from 1996. Pagemaster from 1984. Kiki's Delivery Service from 1990. Small Soldiers from 1998, and House Guests from 1995. Let's start with Matt. Which one of these films do you think brought in the most money?
Definitely, I think Jingle All the Way.
Matt's saying Jingle All the Way. Kyle, what do you say?
House Guest. That movie brings back memories, but I'll go with Small Soldiers.
Kyle's saying Small Soldiers. Kris, what do you say?
I'm a Miyazaki fan. Kiki's Delivery Service.
Kiki's Delivery Service, Kris says. Jordan, what do you say?
Let's go with Sergeant Bilko.
Jordan saying Sergeant Bilko. George?
I'm going Pagemaster.
The top film was Jingle All the Way, $130 million that film brought in. Second was Small Soldiers. It brought in $72 million. And Sergeant Bilko brought in $38 million, which means that Matt gets 3 points, Kyle gets 2 points, Jordan gets 1 point. Our next Sunday morning is Charles Rocket. You guys remember him? He famously got fired from SNL for saying fuck on air. Here are 6 films that he was in after he said fuck on air and got fired. Dumb and Dumber from 1994. Wagons East from 1994. Delirious from 1991. Shortcuts from 1993. Hocus Pocus from 1993. And Earth Girls Are Easy from 1989. Start with Dalton. Which one of these films brought in the most money?
Dumb and Dumber.
Okay, George, what do you think?
Hocus Pocus.
And Jordan?
Shortcuts.
Jordan saying Shortcuts. Kris, what do you say?
Man, a lot left to choose from. Delirious.
Delirious. Kyle, what do you say?
Earth Girls Are Easy.
Earth Girls Are Easy. And Matt, your last choice would be Wagons East. Okay, this is how it shook out. Number one film was, of course, Dumb and Dumber. $246 fucking million that movie brought in. A monstrous amount, especially in the 90s. Second was Hocus Pocus, only $52 million.
Such a bad
Obviously,
movie.
it has a much bigger place in the zeitgeist than that total suggests. And third is Shortcuts, Robert Altman's classic, only $6 million, but it was good enough for third place in this. So Dalton gets 3 points, George gets 2 points, Jordan gets 1 point. This is our last Sunday morning. It is Tina Fey. Here are 6 movies she was in: Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot, A Haunting in Venice, Baby Mama, The Invention of Lying, Mean Girls, and Date Night. Matt, which one of these films do you think brought in the most money?
I think I'm going to go Mean Girls.
Okay, Matt's going with Mean Girls. Mean Girls off the board. Kyle, what do you think?
Haunting in Venice.
Kyle's saying A Haunting in Venice. Chris, what do you think?
I'm not seen any of these. Date Night.
Chris saying Date Night. Jordan, what do you think?
What the one up in the top right? I can't read the Baby Mama. Is that what
Baby
it's called?
Mama? Yep.
Yeah.
All right, George, what do you think?
I guess I'll go Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot.
Okay, Dalton, that leaves you with The Invention of Lying, correct? And this is how it shook out. All right, obviously number 1 was Date Night. What? How did that movie make that much money? $152 million Date Night brought in. Mean Girls, number 2, $130 million. Wow. I thought for sure when I started making this list, Mean Girls would be at the top, but that's how it shook out. Third place, Haunting in Venice.
Steve Carell just hit right for Steve Carell.
Yep. Nobody, I don't even think anybody, has anyone here seen Haunting in Venice? No. I don't know how it made that much money. I watched the first 5.
Either, though.
Oh, see, I've seen all 3 of them now, and the third one is the worst one, so don't bother. So Chris got 3 points, Matt got 2 points, and Kyle got 1 point. We are in dangerous territory here, gentlemen. We have a 3-way tie for first place going into our last game. Dalton, Kyle, and Matt all have 11 points. Chris has 9. George and Jordan both have 8. Kind of a barn burner here, guys. I'm happy to have you all here for it.
This game is called The Pitch.
This is the last game. This is going to be a fun one. We haven't done a creative game for a while, so I get to just sit back and listen to you guys have fun. This is the pitch, but with a twist. You'll be pitching me a film which I will award up to 3 points for once I have heard it and judged it. The only constraint limiting your wild imagination is this. Your pitch must be a feature film plotline adapting an existing SNL sketch or character. I want to hear your Goat Boy the Musical pitch where he seeks out his long-lost goat father. Give me your land shark romance epic. If you've got a pitch about 2 wild and crazy guys, I'd love to hear it. Who'd like to go first? Surely someone wants to jump for 3 points. Okay, no takers. Let's start with Jordan. Jordan, you're the old seasoned head here.
Fuck.
I want you to take an SNL sketch or character, and I want you to give me a feature film pitch for it. And I'll give you up to 3 points, whether I like it or not.
Okay.
You need a full 3 just to be able to catch up with Dalton, Kyle, and Matt.
Okay, so I want to do. It's a type of movie. It's like Unforgiven or like Logan, like about an older, grizzled badass, except it's the Hotel Samurai.
Okay, very cool. Very like a Ronin tale of the.
Yeah, like the last Zatoichi movie. With Hotel Samurai. So his hotel is getting bought out by Yakuza, and he's got to like come out of. He's got to pick his sword back up to fight them or something. That's about all I got.
All right, yes, that's reasonable. I'll give you a solid 2 points for that, which does not put you in place of winning, but at least adds 2 more points to your season total. All right, George, you're next on my list. You got one for us?
All right, wish me luck here. I'm just
wish you
gonna
luck.
say some shit if I'm playing incorrectly. Tell me. Okay, so the superstar character.
Okay.
Right, but like now take like the plot from like Moana.
Okay.
All right.
Walk me through it. Yep.
And I mean, I guess like that's the idea, right? I don't really know how to like change it around or whatever, like Jordan did, but so I don't know if it connects. I just want to see that character do this stuff. But anyway, the character of Moana like has to like save her people, and the problem is I mean, it's a coming of age story, so she's like against the idea of following her elders or whatever. However, one elder tells her destiny is to go out into the ocean and find this item that's going to save their island and keep their people alive, basically. Keep the legend going.
When we say people, we're talking about the Catholics?
Yeah, but yeah.
All right, I'm going to give you 2 points, bringing your total up to 10 for the night. All right, Dalton.
I have a silly idea. How about we take the Californians, and it's going to be like fish out of water sketch?
Yep.
Or sorry, fish out of water story. So, like, their home is taken by the wildfires, so they have to be relocated, and they get moved. The whole family gets moved to, like, this really rural area where they don't have, like, street signs or, like, anything like that. So they're kind of, like, learning to live in this new area where they can't always talk about, like, how they got everywhere.
Okay.
That's all I got, really.
That's really funny. I like that one. I fucking hate the Californians. It's so funny.
I mean, if you were to take like a modern-ish SNL sketch and try to make a feature film out of it, that would do pretty well. I think people actually might want to see that. So, you know what? I'm going to give you the first 3 points of the night, Dalton. 3 points for that one. All right, Kris, next to you.
All right. Let's see if I got the right idea on this too. But so, picture it. 10 million years ago, Ice Age. A caveman is frozen. He wakes up, becomes a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, it's been traffic tickets and minor things, but one day, in a drunken stupor, he accidentally stumbled upon the biggest bank embezzling scheme ever. It involves intrigue, violence. They chase him around the country. There's guns, explosions. All the time, he's trying to figure it out. It's difficult because he is just a caveman.
3 points. Love it. I would watch every single
John
second
Grisham's
of that.
Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer is a good. That's a good pitch too.
For sure, I would. I would buy the 4K Blu-ray. Absolutely. Okay, 3 points. Kyle, to you.
So the movie would be about Matt Foley, motivational speaker. He lives in a van down by the river. He finds out that the river is getting polluted with methamphetamine from the local pharmaceutical plant. So he goes to different houses, try to motivate people to help him go face the big corporate lobby. And then he finally gets to the corporate office and faces the guy who is polluting the river. And then he falls on a table.
I'd watch that. 3 points. Good job, Kyle. All right, Matt, last one to you. This is your first creative game ever.
Thank you.
So let's see what you got.
There's a sketch in SNL that starred Kate McKinnon where she was like kind of like a white trash kind of lady that had been abducted by aliens.
Yep.
I would like to see a prequel to the film Independence Day, starring Kate McKinnon in this role, whereby they somehow connect her character to Randy Quaid's ultimate character in the original Independence Day film. Perhaps she was his mother or something along those lines.
So this is a prequel to Independence Day, also a prequel to this SNL sketch.
Right. This is the origin story.
All right, I'm gonna give that 3 points too. So that means that Matt, Kyle, and Dalton all got 3 points, which means that they're all still tied. So here's what we're gonna do. To determine the winner tonight, I have the amount that Lorne Michaels has brought in at the worldwide box office as a producer. It's a very high amount. You guys are all going to guess that amount. We're going to play Price is Right rules. If you go over, you don't get any points. So you're trying to get as close to that number that Lorne Michaels has brought in at the worldwide box office as a producer. And if you get the closest number, you win the game. You take home Superstore. Okay, so Dalton, let's start with you.
Shit, I don't know. Let's go with like $1 billion. I don't know. I really don't know.
1 billion, Dalton says. Kyle, what do you say?
I'm going to say 999 million $999,999.
So just a dollar under a
And
billion
99
is what
cents?
Kyle is saying. All right, and Matt, how much
Yeah.
do you think it was?
Well, I mean, if I'm playing to win, then it would be pretty smart to say $1 or $1,000,000,001.
Right.
I am going to be respectful of the not the $1 rule, but I'm going to go with $500 million.
Okay, Matt is saying $500 million. Kyle is saying $1 short of $1 billion, and Dalton is saying $1 billion. And the true answer is $694 million. So Matt wins another game. 2 in a row,
Way
Matt.
to go, Matt.
Way to go, Matt.
More beginner's luck, maybe.
Yep. All right, so Matt wins it with a score of 14. Kyle also had 14. Dalton had 14. Jordan had 10, and Kris had 12. I'll add to your season total. We have a champion. All hail Matt. He is taking home Superstar on VHS.
We're not worthy.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Highlight of my week, guys. Thank you.
That's our show. I want to thank the cast, the crew, Lord Michaels, Dalton for the music, you for watching. We have a new champion, Matt. He's taking home Superstar on VHS. Follow us on Bluesky and YouTube at Filmwar. We'll be back soon. Till then, Godspeed.
That's all for Film War. Tune in 2 weeks for more movie trivia whatever. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye, folks!
A 1,000-yard stare production.